rounding out the funding, especially for the meat sector.
To Ms. Wilson-Raybould in Vancouver, Granville. Ms. Wilson-Raybould, go ahead.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair. The Minister of Employment has stated that measures would be forthcoming for individuals with disabilities, similar to the one-time payment increase given to seniors on OAS and GIS. Could the Minister please provide some more details with respect to the statement that she made, and when can individuals with disabilities expect meaningful financial assistance?
The Honourable Minister.
I thank the member for her question, Mr. Speaker. We know that Canadians with disabilities are disproportionately impacted by COVID, both in terms of their own personal health and the access to supports that they have or don't have, more specifically. Mr. Speaker, we are 3 days away from National Accessibility Week, the first week after we legislated it in the Accessible Canada Act, and I would expect something from our government during that week. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
To Ms. Wilson-Raybould.
Thank you for that. My office has heard from many constituents who are frustrated over the lack of information on eligibility requirements from the government regarding business credit availability program. Furthermore, banks are giving small and medium-sized businesses mixed messaging. How will the government ensure that the messaging for BCAP and similar programs are articulated properly?
Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I want to thank the honourable member for her question. Nothing is more important to us right now than making sure that our small and medium-sized businesses are supported. The lending programs through BCAP is available through financial institutions, that's banks and credit unions across the country. The money is flowing to those businesses. I would encourage Canadian businesses to get in touch with their financial institutions. Thank you so much.
To Ms. Wilson-Raybould.
Thank you, Chair. Members may not be aware, but there are ongoing restrictions on when some civil servants can access government servers and their files due to the pandemic to ensure those dealing directly with the pandemic have priority. For example, this is affecting negotiations with Indigenous peoples. Can the government please tell us when the system will have sufficient capacity so that all civil servants can do their work remotely and without limitation?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you to the colleague for the question, the important question, which indeed speaks about the importance of public servants to continue their important job for Canadians, mindful, of course, of the difficult circumstances in which many of those workers find themselves, both personally and professionally. We know that, in particular, Indigenous communities need that support, particularly so in the context of the crisis, and we look forward to continuing to support them.
Back to Ms. Wilson-Raybould.
Thank you, Chair. As current and former parliamentarians call for a national inquiry into long-term care homes, something that I would strongly support, can the Minister of Crown Indigenous Relations please give the members an idea as to when the action plan on murdered and missing Indigenous women and girls will be released? And in asking this question, I certainly understand the need for consultation and the reality of some delays due to the pandemic. There are, of course, many actions that we all know need to take place now and that do not need more consultation. The need for consultation cannot be an excuse for the lack of action.
Honourable Minister.
I thank the member for her question and for her ongoing advocacy that as we approach the first anniversary of the release of the final report, we are grateful for the work of all of our partners in really trying to do what they can to end this national tragedy of missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls and Two-Spirited Plus. Despite the challenges of COVID-19, they have put in good initiatives, and we look forward to being able to release a national action plan, the first that will include all provinces and territories, as well as all of our Indigenous governments and partners.
Ms. Wilson-Raybould, down to about the last 30 seconds or so a short question.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. A short question to the Minister of Transport. Does the government have any plans to step in and encourage airlines to return money to customers rather than vouchers? I've heard from many, many constituents and businesses in this regard.
The Honourable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, as I mentioned before, we're very sympathetic to the situation that those who would prefer to refund are in at the moment, but the airlines are going through an extremely difficult moment at this time, and if they had to reimburse at this time, some of them